Hey, this is Nicole Kelly, host of Disarming Disability. Thanks for listening to the following show on Public House Media.
You're listening to Catch Up, an official news production of Public House Media.
Today is July 22nd, 2020, and it's time to catch up on the news that you need to know about.
Today, we're helping you catch up on Ohio House Speaker arrested on $60 million bribery case.
Fox News correspondents accused of rape in a civil case.
Michael Bennett retires after 11 years in the NFL.
And, as always, ending with a bit of good news for you today.
We're your hosts, Catherine Smith
and Anna Herman. Welcome to Catch Up.
Federal officials arrested Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder and 4 others Tuesday morning in a connection with a $60 million bribery case. Here to discuss more on this evolving issue is Catch Up News correspondent Max Wolpoff. Thank you for joining us today, Max.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Max, what is the facts of this case and how does this connection come about?
So this is a still developing case. We still don't have all the players charged in criminal documents just yet, but the facts are, as of now, this. So Householder oversaw a Republican-led effort of a bailout of 2 nuclear plants in Ohio, owned by First Energy Solutions. So House Bill 6 was the bill they were attempting to pass, which they did, signed by Ohio Governor Mike DeWine back in June, which authorized using ratepayer fees from utility companies for about $1 billion worth of bailout. And there was a lengthy fight to try to overturn this, and some of the corruption went back into 501c4 dark money political operations where nobody needed to report the contributions they got to the Federal Elections Commission or even to the state equivalent in Ohio. That group hired people to block signature collectors from people who were trying to oppose the bailout in a ballot initiative. It was a well-funded operation, and the charging documents state that Householder, along with the others who were involved in the charging today, were key backers in a bit of a scheme where we pay the politicians to secure our bailouts. It was very upfront with the Southern District of Ohio saying this was a quid pro quo, this was a pay-to-play scheme. And as of now, we still don't know the identity of the company that funded this. That is still referred to as Company A in the charging documents. But since this is now a overt investigation, that identity of that company might come out in the coming days.
So, in a statement made by spokeswoman for DeVillers, associates were charged in a case that can be described as a, quote, public corruption racketeering conspiracy involving $60 million, end quote. So, will we be seeing more Ohio officials being charged in this case, or is this simply accusations with no sound evidence?
Very likely more Ohio officials will be charged in this. The governor spoke yesterday, and said that Householder should resign from his speakership, saying that he could not continue in this role while being criminally charged, and potentially more companies, potentially more Ohio state politicians, potentially more operatives will be implicated in this in the coming days. This was a first step from the prosecuting office, and now that they have the FBI involved as well, and now that this is an overt investigation as opposed to a covert one, the Southern District of Ohio can go after public documents and public records as well as business records that they would not have been able to get otherwise.
Well, hopefully we'll see results to this ongoing decisions in the coming days. So thanks for those informative remarks, Max.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
A lawsuit filed in federal court against Fox News on Monday accused former host Ed Henry of rape and alleged that he retaliated against 2 women who rejected his advances. The lawsuit was brought by Jennifer Eckhart, a former Fox Business Network producer and online personality who made the rape allegation against Henry, and Kathy Aru, a journalist who appeared frequently on Fox News. Here to talk more on this topic is official Catch-Up correspondent Unkwa Asonye. Thanks for joining us today, Unkwa.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
So, Unkwa, can you explain a little bit more about what exactly is going on in this case and how it even came up in the first place?
So Fox News as a network has unfortunately had a history of sexual harassment in the workplace. If you think back to the founder, Roger Ailes, before he passed away in 2017, there was even a lawsuit that was paid out to Gretchen Carlson, a former news correspondent there. So now what we're looking into is a network where it's not just Ed Henry who's being called to the mat. Sean Hannity and also Tucker Carlson have been implicated as well.
So, with everything going on, how do you think this will affect the future of Fox News?
It's very difficult to say. Many networks tend to be able to rebound if they take the proper steps. The details of the lawsuit are very, very grotesque, to a point where even the trigger warning was placed on the very lawsuit itself. Both of the parties involved, both of the ladies rather, they brought very specific situations where they were propositioned for extracurricular activities. Excuse the figurative language, but that's pretty much what we're looking at here. So between those three figures and Ed Henry in specific, it does mean that Fox News is going to have a lot more reckoning to deal with. And especially since there is more attention being paid to a hostile work environment. We've seen it already with the Washington NFL team and the report that dropped from the Washington Post last week. The network is going to have to take it very, very seriously this time around and be maybe even as public as possible.
This most definitely is a very unfortunate situation. So thank you so much for updating us on Catch Up today.
Thank you for having me.
Veteran defensive end Michael Bennett, a three-time Pro Bowl selection who has 69.5 career sacks and won a Super Bowl ring during his career, is retiring after 11 NFL seasons. He announced on Instagram on Tuesday. Here to talk more on this is official Catch-Up correspondent Kamari Darrington. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kamari.
Thank you for having me today.
So I know that he's had a pretty successful career and went undrafted. Can you tell us more about this and more about some of the things he went through during his career in the NFL?
Well, yes, he was actually signed by the Seattle Seahawks, originally undrafted out of Texas A&M. Then he got traded out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and played there for 3 seasons. Then he returned to Seattle as part of that famous Legion of Boom defense from 2013, really about 2017. Was really known for his secondary, but he was a major part of that as well. And they went to 3 consecutive Pro Bowls, won a Super Bowl as well. And then he spent his last 3 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots, and Dallas Cowboys, obviously before his retirement, as he announced on Tuesday. So he's had a very long career, very strong career, but definitely when he returned to Seattle after those 3 years in Tampa Bay, that's really when he became one of the more popular players on the Seahawks team and one of the most dominant players in the NFL.
So, Kamara, I know like many athletes today, Michael Bennett is an activist for helping athletes when it comes to social and racial injustices. Can you tell us a little bit more about his experience through that?
Yeah, so he's had some issues with police brutality. There was arrest in Houston after the Super Bowl. He tried to get onto the field after his brother Martellus helped the New England Patriots win their Super Bowl and that comeback victory against the Atlanta Falcons. There was an arrest, I think, the following year in Las Vegas that finally showed that Michael Bennett it was a very controversial arrest, and there's a lot of facts that had to come out afterward that showed that Michael Bennett was a victim of police brutality. So he's also written a book that is being scripted into being developed into a scripted television series. And he's also spoken out about police brutality, and he even said in his retirement that he may not I think it was to the New Yorker that he may not be to the level of a Colin Kaepernick or to a Maya Moore, but he certainly feels like he and other athletes can do some things to promote change in their communities. So he's been a very big, strong supporter of being an activist and being out there speaking out.
Well, that's good, and hopefully he can continue using his time being retired to continue being an activist and helping other athletes during this time. So thanks for joining us today on Catch Up, Kamari.
Thanks for having me.
So in this world of chaos, what do we have for good news today, Anna?
Well, Kat, we do have some good news. So, in an Alaskan city that's known for its continuous cold climate, the residents' hearts are warming due to the safety standards set for the remote city's nearly 300,000 citizens, and especially to the homeless.
Which is spectacular knowing the difficult times that we are living in right now. Communities such as these in Alaska are hunkering down in the novel coronavirus by providing social services through the Catholic Church to those in the homeless population of Anchorage to get these individuals in their own residence so they are not only provided with the safest option, but the most cleanly.
While this option may be the safest possibility to decrease the curve, locals are still noticing the lack of necessities that many take for granted. In a call for help on social media, Anchorage residents collaborated with local businesses to start a drive so residents could drop off necessities such as soap, toothpaste, and of course toilet paper to the hotel bellman to be later distributed to a newly housed person. Thanks for catching up on today's news with us. I'm Anna Herman.
And I'm Catherine Smith. Please make sure to catch up with us again tomorrow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
We appreciate you listening to Catch Up. For even more content, follow Catch Up Digital on social media. Just search for @TimeForCatchUp.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the stories we covered today. Just use the hashtag #PassTheCatchup on social media.
Catch Up is an official production of Public House Media.